I know.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just do whatever.
We make it up. We're still making it up as we go along.
I'm a year later, still making it up.
Which is why it's so much fun.
Exactly.
I know, because it's not like a
Are
cookie
we
cutter.
super loud today?
Are we really loud? I think so.
Well, we were playing,
messing with new mics.
There we go. We're trying to at least. Yeah.
How's that? Is that good for you guys?
Better?
Everybody happy?
Yes.
All right.
I'm happy now.
I'm happy.
Because I'm back on the sofa.
I missed you.
Did you miss me?
Yes.
You honey.
Yes.
Oh.
All right, you tell them where we are because I'm going to fix this.
Okay, so we are located here at the Unleash Your Life Studios at 7220 North 16th Street in Phoenix, Arizona. We're in Building A. You can't miss us because there's a big sign on the door that has
Looks like us.
these little ladies on it. So we're there, and this is the home of Reverend Dr. Michelle Whittington,
Who we love.
who we absolutely love. And Reverend Michelle, just our little plug for the day, because we just had our closing one for the best year yet yesterday. And it was so much fun. We had such a wonderful time. And next year's is called Your Next Grand Adventure, Best Year Yet 2.0. So I'd like to invite you, if you have an opportunity, to go to unleashyourlife.us and check out the events page and what she has coming forward for this next year. So, yes.
Yes, that's a very good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So we have a special guest in the house today.
We
boys
do.
and girls.
We have a very special
We
guest in the
have
house.
one of our very favorites.
Yes.
I'm like my mother, they're all our favorites, but one of our very favorite
Who
spiritual
has-
church club partner.
Who has dedicated so much time and effort to
I
helping
know.
us organize
Can I-
because we aren't that.
I know. I am that. You just no, but like she's helping us right now organize our the journal that's coming out in the next couple of weeks for print. So we're just so grateful for all the help. She's always here, even when no one else is here. She's still here. So it's
And our card decks.
and she's helping us with the card text too, so that's ready for everybody. Yeah. So we just want to say a big happy birthday to our Ann Caldwell.
Yes, and she is wearing.
Yes. Could you
Yeah,
model
could you
for us
come and model
today?
for us? We had her on the sofa earlier. Come sit with us.
I know, birthday girl.
Come sit with us.
Birthday queen. This says birthday
This
queen.
says
now.
birthday queen.
Yes, and if you go to our Sofa Sundays page, well, you're on it right now.
Right.
But
You'll
if
see the
you
pictures.
go down, you'll see that we took a bunch of pictures. So wish her happy birthday there if you don't know
Yes,
her person.
we love you.
Yeah, she does a lot of stuff for us.
She
and
does
we
a
really
lot of stuff for
appreciate
us,
you.
including decorating our little tree last
If
week.
you
Yeah, so
missed last week's Sofa Sundays, she decorated their little tree for us.
yeah. And you throw
I just sat on the
decorations
sofa.
around.
She sat on the sofa and did the tree and helped me with our topics last week. So
Great. Because
good
I
stuff, really good
was
stuff.
home
What were you
recovering.
doing?
I was home recovering.
yes.
And I just want to say,
From what? Some people
Right?
don't know us.
so I, on the 21st of November, had full total knee replacement. And here's my little
Super.
spiel for this stuff really works. So I was told by the nurse practitioner.
What stuff really works? What do you mean?
This
The drugs?
The drugs, yeah.
Your spiritual drugs.
Well, first I want to say to our prayer partners,
Oh yeah.
to the people that have been praying for me for the last 19 days.
Yes.
I truly believe in the healing power of prayer and affirming that. And so the nurse practitioner told me that this was going to be the worst pain I had ever felt. And I was a little annoyed by that comment, actually.
Right?
I was like,
Does she not know
I
who
was
you
like,
are?
obviously you deal with other people
That's right.
because
You don't know who she
you
is.
don't know me.
Right.
And she really had scared me.
Oh.
And but I decided to let that fear go.
Okay.
I had done this surgery had been planned since April. So I had done the exercises and getting ready so that my leg would be prepared for this. And I have had less pain since the day of surgery than I had prior to surgery in my whole life. And
Yep.
I was on a cane within days, and I I bring the cane for stability, but I walk around my house without it, and everybody has seen me walk around here without it right now too. So I am beyond good. And like I said, the pain that I have is so minimal. Is that an echo?
No, I know, right? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be on those hiking trails soon.
I cannot
That's the
wait.
big goal for Jeannie, because Jeannie is a big hiker, loves getting out there. So every time I
Yes.
think about what you're going through to make that happen for you, I'm proud of you for going
Thank
through
you.
that. To
Yeah.
just not saying, "Oh, I won't be able to do that anymore because this and this." Like, no, so
Nope.
no, I'm doing it. So
Yep.
what's the next steps? Like, you're making that happen. I love
Yes.
that. You're a great
Yes.
example.
And now it's just about strengthening and stamina. And I had to. We went for an adventure at the Music Instrument Museum on Tuesday, and I walked a little bit longer than I normally do currently, and then I was down for the count on Wednesday. So I am learning to behave.
She doesn't behave very well, does she, Dakota?
Yeah.
Oh, Dakota's like, you're not going to trap me in that one. I'm not saying a word.
Nice try, Michelle.
I just noticed we don't have any intention rocks.
We have
up
an
here.
intention
Just
rock.
one?
We have one.
Abby did that. I know that.
I was
Ann-
distracted.
Ann was a
That's
little
right.
distracted with
She
her
was
birthday.
distracted
That's
by
true.
presents.
But set your intention for our time today. I think this month is super special, all about self-care, and it may not be the self-care you're thinking of, although we did talk about that physical, personal self-care last week. But we're going to dive into it a little bit differently, like we always do, whatever comes from spirit. But your intention for yourself, your own self-care. We want to get ahead of that for next year.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really important. Set your intention right now as we go into prayer. Do you want to start?
I will pray us in. Yes, let's do that. Just with gratitude and desire for the connection and unity that is the one power, the one presence, the one divine heartbeat, the one breath that I choose to call God, divine, spirit, universal energy, the beloved. No matter what or who you call this spirit, know that this is all there is. And I am one with that, as is everyone within the sound of my voice and beyond. We are part of this amazing God stuff that is the only thing we could be made of. So I speak my word into the law for the highest and best good of this time together, knowing and affirming and blessing this time, that everything that we need to hear, the things that we need to heal or reveal or discuss or laugh, whatever it is that we need independently and collectively is already done in the mind of God. And I send blessings out, especially at this time of Hanukkah, for all our brothers and sisters celebrating, knowing that there is peace, there is love, there is divine light always. And as we celebrate this light, knowing that it shines through each of us. I'm so grateful for this time together. I am grateful for the manifestation and the beauty and the joy and the love that is love incarnate in each of us. I say thank you, God. Thank you, universe. Thank you, the divine beloved, for this time together. I release my word into the law and I call it good. And together we say,
And so it is.
That almost brought me to tears. You almost made me cry.
that's my goal. Cry or laugh.
That's
I
her
need
goal.
to have big emotions.
I'm so glad this is recorded. Sometimes where like something will happen, I'll be like, thank God that's recorded, because that was like so beautiful. I think I'm gonna have that. We're gonna type that up, chunks of that, and type that up. I think we need to post that too. That was just covered everything, and especially when there's so much going on in the world, and we want peace, and we want love, and we want that feeling. I love what you had to say. Thank
When
you
you think
for that.
about what's going on in Israel and
Yes.
Hanukkah's happening.
I know,
I had
right?
someone talking on the news, she said, we're not even gonna light the candles.
Hmm.
It's just really sad.
It's a
Yeah.
tough time.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being back here on the sofa.
Oh, I'm so happy to be back here on the sofa.
I know, me too.
Yeah. What we got going on today?
Well, you said it in the prayer, which
I
is
did.
perfect. I open my heart and accept myself as love incarnate.
Yes.
That's like the major first step to self-care, don't you think?
Yes.
I think a lot of us forget who and whose we are, and therefore we don't take care of ourselves.
Right.
Like we are that preciousness, that amazingness. Like we forget that. So let's
Yeah.
start with. I know you're going to read.
Yeah, I do have a reading. I have something I wanted to say because you just brought that up. I was recently on an amazing group for spirituality and health, and it's an LGBTQ group with spirituality. And one of the things that came up in this discussion was how we can tend to be devoid of our body. You know, like we can decide that our body is not part of us and it's not spiritual, and we don't pay attention to the vessel that our spirit's walking around in. And that's one of those things that I think is important to remember, that we're an integrated soul that is here in mind, body, and spirit.
This is what we're using to do what we're here to do. If we don't take care of it, then we inhibit our ability to do what God has us here for, right? So it's like we talked about this last week, and with Ann on the sofa with me last week, talked a lot about this physical care and physical self. But I think it stems a lot from the recognition of who we are.
Yes.
And it's not forgetting that. So I know you got it.
I do. So today's reading is on page 175 of your New Thoughts for Today. And you know, if you're feeling like, well, it's the end of the year, so I've lost my opportunity, don't feel that way. We'll be going into next year with this book. There is plenty of stuff
There's
still
so much in
here.
And they're making a new one. So I'm sure as soon as
Yes.
we're done with this, the new one will be out.
So-
which is great.
I just say, get yourself your Christmas present. Self-care, people. Self-care.
Yes.
Okay.
So good.
So this one's called Self-Love
She's not aggressive
at
She's
all.
not. She's loving. She's not aggressive.
And very assertive.
That's it.
I'm a little bossy.
Yeah.
It's
I
one
like
of-
that though.
little
Because you're
bossy.
boss in the right direction. Like you know.
I'm a girl boss. What can I
So
say?
we love girl best.
That's
Yeah.
right. So God has deposited love at the center of our being, whether we know it or not. Ernest Holmes, Living the Science of Mind. We have often heard that we must first love ourselves before we can love another. And many of us have spent lots of time, energy, and money trying to learn how to love ourselves. Yet, we still can only see our flaws, our mistakes, our missteps, our failings. Or we can only see ourselves through the eyes of another unloving, misguided souls who neglected, hurt, or abused us. So we try to love ourselves in spite of all this, because something in us knows that we'll be happier and that life will have a greater meaning and purpose if we could just get there. But here's the subtle shift in perspective. We don't really need to try to love ourselves in spite of all our shortcomings. Instead, we need to open our hearts to know ourselves as love. The very essence of our worth, our purposefulness. One of those words
That's
I
a
can't.
very long word.
And one of those words I can't look at or I'll mess it up. Our value lies in the spiritual truth that we are loved. This is different, subtle, yet hugely important from loving ourselves. The 13th century Persian mystic Rumi wrote, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." And of course, when we do this, we experience the love of the divine as well. You already knew that, didn't you? I open my heart and accept myself as love incarnate and find my worth, my purposefulness, and my value in God. Reverend Dr. Michelle Whittington, Religious Science, Phoenix, Arizona.
And you just know she put that word in twice.
Yes, just to mess with me.
Just she's like, I like that word, purposefulness.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I could just hear Michelle's voice
Right.
in this writing. I mean, she wrote it, so of course, but I can just hear her talking from the pulpit with this, right? But really, that's exactly what it is your task is not to seek for love, to not be out there looking for it. You are already it. You already are the thing which you seek. And my boyfriend and I were just, I was telling you earlier, my boyfriend and I were just last night talking about that, about just not realizing that and what that looks like in life. And then when you realize it, what that looks like in life, like it changes everything. When you just come, you realize that you're just love. You're just God expressing as love. You don't need it from anybody else. You already are it. And it's a totally different place to be.
I'm telling you, there are so many of the little stories when I read this that I remembered. You know, the Golden Buddha story that was covered in clay. But the line that she starts with the God has deposited love at the center of our being, whether we know it or not. Immediately in my head, I saw a little stick figure, right? And this big hand dropping a heart into the stick figure. Like, I was like, and animating it. And I was like, man, that's what it feels like to be loved, you know? And I'll be honest, I'm not always loved, you know?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It just
You mean you're not always loving? You are always loved, but you're just not always loving.
Yeah, I just
Not the verb.
Sometimes I'm covered in clay, you know, and not I'm
Well,
not
you're
the
gonna have to
golden
tell
Buddha.
the story now about the golden
Yeah,
Buddha, or
That
that
doesn't stop you from being loved.
Right.
doesn't
So
stop you from being
it
the
doesn't.
truth.
It stops me from presenting as love. How's that?
Yeah.
For
Is that
people
better?
from seeing the truth of you too, from
Yes.
seeing you that way.
Yes. So the story for those who don't know of the Golden Buddha is that hundreds of years, you know.
Yeah, we're paraphrasing right
yeah. But yes. Look it up.
now. A
Google.
very long time ago.
A very long time ago in a land far, far away. So there was this golden Buddha, and there was people coming in to steal, pillage, take everything.
The other army or
one
whatever,
of
right?
those
The
type
other-
of things. So the monks decided to cover it in clay to keep it from being taken, and they succeeded. And however, they didn't make it
so well.
They hit it so well, but they didn't make it. So they hit it so well, and then this Buddha just stayed there because nobody thought it was worth anything, and now the monks are gone, and nobody knows that it's gold underneath, and you know, time goes on, hundreds of years. And so somebody finally decides they're going to move it. And when they do so, it like cracks. And can you imagine that, Mom? Right? Like, you know, hundreds of
so
years,
heavy.
this
This
has
is
made
so
it,
heavy.
and now I've just broken it. Like, I'd be running away. Like, I didn't do it.
But wait, it's
Right.
It's
So then they see the shininess, and then they break it down, and they find out that it's this, you know, golden Buddha. So I know that we are those golden Buddhas.
Yes.
You know, that our life experiences can be that clay that we cover ourselves with for whatever reason, right? There are time periods where you don't feel safe, or you don't feel willing, or
someone's just hurt you, and you
right.
like what Michelle says, the barrier, what Rumi says, the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. You
Right.
built against love because it's so painful to experience.
Have it develop, right.
You thought that was love, it was painful, so now you've built a barrier against feeling
Right.
it again, and you forget who you are.
Right. And so there are time periods that happens, and that I don't feel that I am loved, you know. And what a wonderful word love is, right? Because it's a noun, it's a verb, it's a feeling, it's
all
a
the things.
description.
It's all the things.
I know one other word that's like that, but we're not going to discuss that one.
What are you?
I'll tell you later.
Oh.
She's so innocent. Don't we love that? But love, but love is one of those words that almost is too simple to encompass all that it is.
You know, it's funny because last night, I keep talking about our night last night, Peter, because he just showed up, my guy.
Hi, Peter.
I didn't realize this was the topic today, but we were talking about this a lot last night. But there was an Italian song that he was playing that was about love, and he was kind of singing it to me. And then I said, what is he, but okay, that's great. But what is he saying? I don't know what he's saying. You know, he goes, you can't even translate it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even translate it. So sometimes I think that's what you're saying with
Yeah.
the love. Sometimes it's just, love is such a simple word to put on there, but that's why, like, there's, what's the religion that has not religion, is it the Arabic? No, not Aramaic. What's the name of that language that they have so many different words for love? What is it? Am I saying it right? Aramaic? Okay. They have so many different words for love because love has so many different facets.
Right.
But here in English, we have one word. And there's
Right.
so many different
To encompass
intricacies of the thing. You can't
all
even
of that.
actually translate it.
Right.
That they tried. But
And then there you are. You're described as being this
thing.
that is undescribable. Okay, sit with that a second, right? Because now here I am to be love incarnate. Who, what, where, how does that express? Right? In each different moment as me, and that is a lot, and yet amazing. Like,
I think it's a lot because you're putting that thinking on it. You know what I mean? Not you, but I mean, I think when you say love to somebody, all the different things that have happened in the name of love, right? They're attaching that to that. So if I've been hurt or if I've been, stabbed in the back, someone's lied to me or betrayed me, but they were supposed to be someone that
that's not
loved me.
Yeah.
But I'm assigning that,
right?
The word to that. Now it's like love becomes so distorted that you no longer even realize what it is. It's like the Buddha being covered in clay for hundreds of years when it was really a gold statue that no one knew was there. So when you're thinking that, I think love's that same way. They keep putting things onto the word love that's not it.
Right.
And then
correlate it with pain.
Right. They
Right.
do, which is why they put barriers against it, walls up against loving each other. But when you realize what love really is and what the word really means, or what, not even the word, we should probably just get away from calling it anything. It flows naturally because it is who we are. If we are truly just made of love, that's really our essence and our being, then it just flows. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to make it something or put it somewhere. It should just flow out of us. And I can see you're like, I got a thought here. But you know what I mean? I think that's the problem, really, is that we don't understand really what it means because we're trying to understand what it means.
Right.
I think we just need to flow. Yeah.
So in essence, that's a
Hold on, but you gotta have a mic or they're not gonna hear you.
So in essence, I feel like there's a distorted cultural interpretation of what love can be or is supposed to be, right, from culture to culture. If we're really getting into like the idea of what it is that we feel when we're loved or what love's supposed to look like, it can be distorted. So our Western world interpretation of what love looks like, right, flows in a completely different way than it would for, to use cultural references from my heritage in Nigeria. So Boko Haram, who, claim to be showing love in certain ways, it just looks completely different than that. I remember watching, I don't remember his name, he was a general, but he was talking about, remember when they kidnapped those 200-something women, girls in Nigeria, and then they were off or whatever? To them, they were doing something in the name of their religion that showed love. But it was, to us, we're like looking like that's just hate,
Right. Yeah.
So it's crazy because, it's an interesting conversation because there's derivatives there that are all distorted and all often always kind of meandering trail. For us, we're looking at that doesn't have any facets that are recognizable in our Western culture that are interpreted as love. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. I don't know if the word is the right word we're using, right?
Right. I think so too. And that makes sense to me why in the Aramaic, I keep wanting to say religion, it's not religion, language, they had so many different words for it to try to capture the
Right.
different meanings that we're attached to. I think it's a really big conversation.
One of the things yesterday we were discussing in our best year yet was about self-care and self-acceptance and self-acknowledgement and self-love. And with that, she played this great video, and there were different things, and I won't give that part away on that. But we were talking about when we love ourselves, we can love the other, and when we can love the other, they can love us back. And I think that is where we get skewed.
Yes.
Right?
I agree.
Because then we have these expectations of what loving myself looks like, this expectation of what loving you looks like, what you loving me looks like. And with that, what expectations, premeditated resentments, right? Like as soon as I have an expectation, it fails,
Right.
It's like, oh, sorry, and that goes for myself as well, right? When I set myself up for expectation.
Right.
So, I did write, I normally don't do that, but I've had more time recently, so I spent a little bit more
Recovering
time
from knee
studying.
surgery.
Yeah. One of the things when I was like thinking about this, there was I read this thing that says your life is a series of habits that are originally from your thoughts that you have about yourself, most of which are subconscious and stemming from childhood.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Stemming from childhood, yes.
Yeah,
of
so when
course.
I think about that, right, early on as a child, I was absolutely loved, right? I had nothing in the world to tell me different. I had a beautiful childhood, so I had nothing in the world to tell me different. And then I became 12. And I lost my ever-loving mind. Check with my mother, she'll tell you. And, so like from 12 to 22, I was this crazy person for a decade that just made everyone around me nuts, and was definitely piling on the clay because I felt so unworthy. I felt so unlovable. I felt all these big feelers, of things that, and I didn't have any place to go with it. I had no one to talk to about it. I didn't come in a world that was like, hey, let's talk about how you feel. Like that wasn't how my life was. And so then I chose other ways of handling that. Alcohol was one of them, and so again, another layer. So then when I finally got sober, I've spent the last, quarter of a century taking this clay off to learn who I was when I was 5.
Yeah. To get back.
To get back to knowing what I knew when I was 5. I love that book, right? Everything I ever needed to know, I learned in kindergarten, right? So like, I didn't know that at 5. It was after that I lost that.
I agree. And I can recall similar things, but I had a different path than you. Obviously, we did different things to cope with that stuff. When the world tells you a different message than what you know, and then you start saying, well, they should know because they're my parents, right? Or they should know because that's my teacher, or they should know because whatever. You put other
Because they're
people,
taller than me.
yeah, older, taller, whatever. Whatever's on the TV, you start to change all that. And I was very sensitive, so like you couldn't even, as a young person, very, very you couldn't even tease me because I would take it personally. Everything was personal. It took me a long time, like probably well into my 20s after my first child was born, before I was able to start to recognize, oh, you're joking, right? You're teasing me now. Okay, ha ha ha, that's very funny. Yeah, got you, But that was a hard thing to be so sensitive because I was such a loving, cuddly child. Like I would never say anything to somebody that would hurt you, even in a joke. I would never, ever do that. And when somebody would come at me, it was so just shocking to me. I just never My mother never treated me like that. My mother was very much put yourself in other people's shoes kind of a mother, always teaching that. So I never would ever. So it was really hard for me to understand some of the nuances with people outside of my family unit because people don't treat each other like that. I would go to some friends' houses and it was fair game. I was a new person in the house. They all were on me because they were trying to not be the one getting attacked emotionally, mentally, whatever it was. It was like, how
Are
do you?
you on the East Coast or the West Coast?
I grew up here. I'm native
Yeah.
here. So
Should have tried these.
I probably would never be. But my mother grew. I think I grew up in that way, but I like that about me. And it took a while for me I played the game and I was like what everybody else to survive that. And then it got to the place where like, you know what? I don't want to be like you all doing that. I don't want to do that. That's not me. It feels awful. I could do it. I could dish it out. And I did that for a period of time in my first marriage because that whole family was dysfunctional like that. And I started to dish it out back to protect myself like they were all doing with each other. And it hurt every time I did that because you can see in their eyes that it stung. And then they laughed. And I thought, you know what? I'm not doing your game anymore. And I stopped that. And then the relationships all changed because it only takes one person to change a relationship. And when I started to be like, when they would come at me with something, I'd say, I don't like it when I would just change my responses, not protecting myself anymore. I recognize that this is who I am. I am sensitive. That does hurt my feelings. And I'm going to own that and be the truth of who I am and how that feels for me. All those relationships changed.
True.
Yeah. As always, when Michelle talks, she always makes me reflect. So I'm thinking about, I grew up originally, as you know, in England. And so in England, our culture there's, you don't do a lot of that, back and forth banter. And then imagine, so this 16-year-old British private school educated kid coming to high school and then go to Detroit to play basketball with a bunch of brothers that, grew up in the inner city that used to crack and whatever they call it. That was an absolute traumatic experience for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. And I didn't know if it was, laden in truth when they were saying these things, or you talking about whatever, your basketball game, your big head, your head catch, whatever it is. And I remember it all like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And so now in my kind of, in my late 40s, my mechanism is when people try to do that with me is like, we talked about it, it's like, I'll say, I don't do that. Like, I'm not going to do that with you. Like, that's not something that's not a place or an area or something.
You actually say, I'm not interested.
I'm not interested.
I'm not interested in doing
That's
that
right,
with you.
right. That's exactly what I say to people. I said yesterday, like, I'm not interested in that right now. Like, I'm not doing that because it's just a bad place. Because words carry weight. They're powerful. They're expressive. They lay foundations for emotions, for sensitivity, for thought, for reactions, for impulsivity, all those things. So it's like we have to be very careful of things we say to people because it will lay a track for their for the rest of their day or week or whatever. It matters. Yeah, it really does. Good point.
Yeah, I love that. And that's so true. We are the, like what we've talked about this many times on the sofa. You want to see more love in the world, you have to be that. You can't wait for everybody else to do it because that's not how that works. It starts begin within. Starts in here. We want more of that, we have to do that. When I stopped playing their game, are you getting the chillers?
Well, she's sitting right at the air
Oh, is
conditioner.
it there? There you go.
There you go.
No, I don't think it does. Are you good? Okay. When we stop playing that game and do something different, put out what we want to be receiving, instead of like, oh, they're all doing this to me, fine, I'll do it right back to you. All you're doing is you're creating more of the thing you don't want.
Right.
So instead, change that and say, like what he said, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in doing anything that doesn't feel like love.
Right. And that's one of the ways to identify the barriers that we build against love in ourselves, right? It's because, and there was one of the things we talked about yesterday was that personal integrity or self-integrity is about that, not about what other people's ideas of right or wrong are, but what yours are. Right? And living by your personal integrity. And it sounds like that is something that's Peter's personal integrity. I don't do this. That doesn't make it right or wrong, ethical or non-ethical. It just means I don't do this. So no matter what you do, this is not part of how I operate in my world. And I'm not going to operate with you this way, you know, and that makes all the difference in how we move in things, right? Like when you have a thing that says, this isn't me, you know, when my partner and I got together, like I was raised on the East Coast, and I've had previous people in my life say that I needed a sensitivity pill because I was lacking it. So, you know, and this is over a decade ago that comment was made to me, but like after they said it to me, I went home for something and watched interactions of my aunts and uncles with my cousins and stuff, and I was like, oh, I was raised this way. This is, you know, it's like I didn't mean anything by it. Like there wasn't a conscious thing by it. It was just I saw the interaction. And, you know, and my partner is so not that person, right? It's not a raised voice. Not, you know, we have discussions. We speak to each other, you know, and I have had opportunity where my mouth has gone before me. And, you know, and she will say to me, no, we're not going to talk like that.
I love that.
You know, and that changed everything in this relationship versus previous relationships. And, you know, humor should never be at the expense of someone else.
Right.
That is what I learned.
Right.
Pokey humor.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I grew up and I was good at it.
Yeah.
You know, and so there is something that became a change in my world so that I could operate as love.
I love that.
That's good. Good job, Dakota. Good job, girl. Right. Yeah, I mean, we can't help how we were raised or what environment we were in. We can't, and then we have to merge in with other people as we grow up. I mean, these things are going to come up. But I think you're right. If like we can identify what's our truth, just for us, I don't have to worry about you and you and you and what you need. I just be honest with who you are, come from your authentic place. That's going to change the game anyway.
Right.
It's going to change your relationships anyway. Right. And so if you're truly coming from that, not from defense, not from walls, not from clay barriers, like
a total vulnerability
Yes.
of who I am. This is
Right.
who I am. Because why do we want to be loved?
it feels so
It
good.
feels good. Exactly,
I
right?
love it.
And we want to, not only do we want to receive that, we want to give that, because giving love is
It's
just
the
as
best.
good.
Yes.
Right? It's like, oh, this whole thing. And I'm not just talking romantic love. I'm talking friendships. I'm talking
Sure.
family and children and friends and you know, parents and, you know, the whole bit.
Right.
Right? Like everything about that. And so I'm going to give a little plug for a class that'll come up in 2024
So
called Humor, Hope, Hugs, and Hummus. And, you know, part of the thing in my experience in writing that class was about hugs.
Yeah.
And how much the human body desires to be touched and loved. And I did not grow up with like that. I love my mother to death, but this was love, right? We called it the rub and pat. And, you know, so learning
Oh
to
my
be
God, you're so funny.
learning to be a hugger, you know, sometimes it was your knee, you know, but learning to be a hugger and to be affectionate is still something I struggle with. Even teaching this class, you know,
We teach what we need to learn.
oh yeah, so that will be coming up again next year.
We're happy. We're happy.
No, I agree. And I think that's the premise of self-love, is first acknowledging that we are love. That's our innate nature. That's just who we are. You can't deny that. You can act like it's not that, but it is the truth of who you are. So it's a process, especially if you've built up a lot of barriers, especially if everybody around you told you something different,
Right.
you know, but if we can start, it's like we always talk about, everything's a practice, right? Everything's an awareness. Everything's like, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, like just little baby steps today. Just start to pay attention. When somebody's talking to you, how does it feel, right? What is my response? How am I dishing it back out, right? Because it only takes me to change what's happening for me. And if I do it, then I give you the license to do it. And then then there's more of that around. You're going to attract it to yourself, what you really want, because you are that, you're vibrating at that level, you will attract the same things. So it's just over this, you're going to be around a lot of people over the next several weeks with all the holidays and stuff. So just play a game with yourself and just like, how does that feel when I'm with this? How does this interaction feel? How am I showing up? I mean, just kind of mess around with it, see what it feels like.
Bless you.
Thank you.
But I agree with
am
you.
blessed. Thank you.
But I agree with you. It feels so good to be loved, and it feels so good to love. And I don't know, I think a lot of us do, but I don't know why we aren't fighting more for that. Like, I want to feel like that every day, all the time. And let's take that up as our charge, right?
Ooh.
Why aren't we always about, how do I feel more of that with True?
Yeah.
Right? How do I have more of that with this guy? How do I have more of that with everybody in this room? How do I do that?
So why do we do that?
That's another whole
Who's got
Sundays
answers?
talk.
Who's got answers on that? Why
I
do
mean,
we
I'm
do
sure
that?
you all have comments.
Like, I know for me, is I get lazy.
You get lazy?
I get lazy.
What?
I do. I want more of that, but I'm going to have to get up. Or here we go. I knew
that I could feel it.
I could feel it.
Sometimes I think that we get so complacent in our relationships that we assume that, the other person knows how much we value and love them. And I think that that's one of the reasons why it's so important to say over and over again, when you feel gratitude, when you feel appreciation, when you feel love, say it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was telling you, Peter and I had this whole conversation in the last 12, 24 hours. We were just talking about that this morning, how in particular men never feel appreciated, men particularly. And then to hear that, it makes such a big difference. And I think it's all of us too. For me, it's more like I like to have feedback, or I like to have, hey, you're hitting the target, or you're doing great. Or I like that more for me than necessarily, I don't mind being appreciated, but I like more like, am I doing, this is good, I'm doing good. That perfectionist Virgo in me, like, am I hitting the mark here for everything? But that feedback, or just saying that, not assuming, exactly what you're saying, Anne, stop assuming that people know how you feel, that they know how much you love them, that they know how important they are in your life. Stop assuming. Actually, don't assume, don't do that at all.
I want to go back to that appreciation part. When you're talking about that, there's something that I will say, the classes, the women's groups that we do here at Michelle's place, that's part of our practice, is showing appreciation to the other women in the class and stuff. And we're not so great at it, but my partner and I do that as well, like on a daily basis. We're trying to do it on a daily basis. So it's like every other day, maybe every 3 days. But that appreciation is so important. I agree.
So,
Hold the mic up, baby.
so the idea of this correlation between, like, this intricate correlation, there's so many, areas where love or appreciation, which is kind of a derivative of love, right, can seep into your life, and these areas where we need to be appreciated, where other people fall short. How do we, I'll give you an example, of course, but how do we deal with those situations that could ultimately take away from our joy and our expressive happiness every day, and those kind of micro moments where we're having interactions? And I'll give you an example. In one of my work environments, there's very few moments where anybody appreciates each other. Everybody's just kind of rat racing it, but we're supposed to be working as a team, but everybody's just kind of doing their own thing. And nobody's saying, hey, thank you. Hey, I appreciate you helping me with that. Or, man, thanks for doing that. Thanks for showing up for me. Nobody says that. Even the person that's supposed to be the leader. The only interactions that we have are corrective, or did you do that? You need to do this. It's never, hey man, thanks, I appreciate you. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for busting your, what today. Never. And so it's almost like, how do we get past that when other people fall short? Like, you can't change people in that space. So how do you get past it when they're not giving you that feedback that you might need, or you might want or expect actually. Because if you're in a leadership position, it's almost like a given. You hope that they do those things. You're the firefighter, right? So do you have any situations like that, or are your people more encouraging?
No, it's
Jake, my friend.
Hi, Jake.
hi there. The environment at work can be pretty cutthroat, but for my environment, you kind of got to understand that we see and do things that not everybody sees and does, and we're
You're
there
high
on people's
stress.
worst days.
Yeah.
And so it's also very bravado and very, very much like hide the emotion. So we do have critical incident stress management teams for specific things that might be very traumatic, but ultimately it's kind of on your own personal relationships with the guys at work and developing those. I think our leadership falls short with showing appreciation. Yeah, but when we come together as a team and things run smoothly, you can sense that everybody's very appreciative of each other and that we're there for each other. So
is it spoken?
occasionally, depends on the crew.
I want Ann to speak to that because Ann's an HR specialist. And I think, Ann, what would you recommend if you don't have a leader that is good at that? Because you can't always in an HR role or in an employee role change your leader.
Well, there's a trick to it, because first of all, it doesn't flow up.
Yeah.
When you're at the top of the food chain, people don't say, "Oh, thanks for leading me the way you do."
Yeah.
Right.
It's just, it's kind of, so the first thing is it's lonely at the top.
Yes.
But the second thing is you role model the behavior you want from you. You up train. So I would
Okay.
say to my boss, who used to take credit for what I did,
Yeah.
I really appreciate it when you give me credit. So sometimes it's just a matter of talking to leadership in a way that acknowledges what you want them to do, even if they're not doing it.
Mm,
And
I
then
love
what you guys done?
Yeah.
Hold on, Ann, I want to say to you, that's
Love it.
awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you for that, because that makes me think as a business consultant when I'm not on the sofa. Like I never, yes, uptrain. I like the terminology that you just used. I'm gonna say it again. She's an HR specialist. If you need that in your business, probably you do. Just let me know and I'll
We
give you
find
her
out
info.
all kinds of things here
I
on
know,
the sofa.
but the uptrain is really important because you feel so helpless as an employee. Like, gosh,
Yeah, you also have to think about the people at the top.
Right,
Nobody
right.
tells
You're
them how
right.
to feel.
You're right.
I wanted to address the comment when we were talking about, thinking about, people assume how we feel and what have you. I can remember at one point, people will send home a steak in New York, send back a steak in a New York Minute, right? But they won't
Right.
say, I really appreciate this. They don't acknowledge
When it's
customer service people, servers. And I've always made that like one of my landmarks is to let people know, how much I appreciate that what they do.
Yeah, right.
But, it takes so little to make somebody's day. We were talking yesterday in our class about, what do we value about ourselves? And one of the things I value about myself, even though I forget it from time to time, is that I truly see the magnificence in other people. And I think that I'm pretty good at reflecting that back to them. It's up to them to take it and embody it, of course.
Right.
But, why would you not go through your day? It takes so little to make someone feel wonderful.
Yeah.
Why not take the time just those moments?
Yes.
Those moments.
Absolutely. So Evie and then Marilyn, because Evie's had her hand up too, so then Marilyn.
I want to go back to what Peter said for a minute about not hearing the appreciation, because there's another side to that spectrum too, where people lavish false appreciation to manipulate, and I've been subject to that because it feeds
Yeah.
my ego. So sometimes people use appreciation as a way to get what they want,
Right.
and I'm not smart enough sometimes to see the difference.
Can
And
you reframe that, please?
I don't see the difference often.
Good job, Ann. I know, we all need those
And
reminders.
so then I go, damn, I just sucked right into that and didn't even realize it, and by then it's too late to change.
Because
things.
then you're working on a Sunday.
Right, well,
Yeah.
that wasn't the case
I'm
in this
kidding.
situation. But situations, I used to be a CPA, and there were many situations where I got roped into things because I felt like wow, they really appreciate me, and then realize that they were manipulating me.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's, yeah, you're right.
I want to comment about what Ann said. It takes something so small to make someone's day.
Yeah.
And as we've been talking, I've been sitting here thinking about even something so much smaller than sharing appreciation and things like that. And that's just, at the grocery store, looking someone in the eye and saying hello, or holding the door for them, or, just something so simple. And some people, that's the only human contact they're going to have all day long.
Wow. Wow.
As a previous Prize employee, I will say that I used to have a contest with my employees to how many people we could make smile. And in
That's a great contest.
right, and in a time period, when you're in an 8 to 10 hour day at Fry's, you see hundreds of people. Like, you might not realize, but you see hundreds of people. My store employees were 160 people. So just on an average day, 40 people right there. And so that used to be like one of the things that helped us with our attitude. And also, I was part of the morale building, we called it the culture club. And so that, that was a thing. It's like, how many people could you make smile? And I love that because there were such reactions from our customers when that happened, especially if you told them what was going on, right? Because then they were like, oh, okay. Oh, we've got
I hear a challenge coming on.
right?
I think we're gonna post a challenge in the Facebook group.
The flip side of it.
Oh, do you need a mic?
Mike's on it. Mike check.
And then the flip side of it is that sometimes you do need to communicate to someone something that bothers you, right? And what I would tend to do, especially with, like, say, servers, okay, so this isn't what I ordered. You get to be the quality control person. So if you check at that point, no, this isn't what she ordered, and deal with that, and that, you'll end up getting, I'll end up getting what I want because you've taken responsibility for making sure that the cook did it right. And I've had restaurant managers, the guy at IHOP on 44th Street in particular said, I think you've trained a lot of my staff.
I love it.
I just address it because I'm ready to drive crazy. This partner, I was practicing accounting who we were kind of like oil and water, and it would be very negative to me, and then somebody would call on the phone and she would turn on the syrup and used to gag me. And so to me, it was like so ingenuine. I mean, I know that you have to do stuff like that, but when you're witnessing that, it makes you feel like that person is not genuine.
Right.
And and so if she's not willing to make the effort for me, but she's willing to make it for other people. So I don't know how to deal with that because I still face it sometimes today.
Oh, sure.
It's a difficult one for me. I tend to dislike people who do that, turn on the syrup after they just razzed me.
Yeah.
So
and absolutely. So, like, one of the things that I want to say on that is that for me, that's that attitude going out is about beginning within. Like, I don't want to bring anything that's not authentic. And like I said before, some days I don't feel love. So but I don't want to go out and give you that though, right? Like I'm going to pretend like my not feeling love is like COVID, right? I'm going to keep that to myself and deal with myself and not, spread that around. And so there, I agree with you, right? Because authenticity is really important because I wouldn't buy the syrupy sweet. I've been in customer service since I was 21 years old. I have syrupy sweet too. I get it, right? And, and sometimes that's the best you can do when somebody's screaming obscenities at you on the other line. Yes, sir, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm going to put you on hold now and never come back. So yeah, if there are those time periods, I get that. And I am not being genuine, right? And my bosses appreciate that. Because if I was genuine, there are times. Yeah.
But Evie, we can't make anybody be anything that they are not willing to be, right? So
Right.
it's only you. So in my mind, when things like that happen to me, and it's not somebody like I can openly talk to or feel comfortable to do that, I have to ask myself, why am I triggered by that? Who is this person to me? This person's nobody in my life, just other than these few hours that I sit next to them and work. They're nothing more to me than that. So why am I allowing this? This is an awareness for me then. What is this? Because it's triggering something usually from your past that you need to either address or heal or reframe or whatever. But they have no more about you. Actually, probably they don't even recognize that that's doing anything to you because it's something that's happening to them. It's something that is
Right.
going on inside of them is causing that to come out of them. Has nothing even to do with you, right? So that's the big practice. And we're going to be doing the Real Love book study in January because we're going to start off, like I said, we're starting off 2024 with self-love and coming from love from ourselves so that we can be more of that out there, but also deal with things like what Evie's talking about. Like that's not even going to affect us because that has nothing to do with us. And we're going to be able to see that. So
That's a reflection of them.
that's a reflection
Yes.
of them and an awareness for you. And that's
And it
how I
irritates
always
me
look
as
at it.
well.
It is.
It's irritating.
And that's what you go. Instead of like letting it upset your whole day, try to be like, what is that for me?
One
What
of
is
the
that for
things
me?
that comes up, I was thinking about, is the positive intelligence. One of the
Yeah,
things that we practice on that is the compassionate thing. See them as the 5-year-old, right? That hurt little kid type of thing, and sometimes that does help.
Yeah.
So I mean, most of the time it helps, but there are some times that they're
Or like
just,
when Peter said the one time that you were like, and I'm doing all my.
I'm doing that. Oh
I'm
yeah.
like this, I'm like playing with this, rubbing my fingers
So-
and all that.
I love that, right? So here I was, talk about an irritation thing, right? I'm at PT the other day, told Dakota about this. And I'm sitting there, and this woman, she's on her phone, she got it blaring up, she's got a Starbucks drink, she's shaking the ice at, right? I mean, I realize it's not a meditative space, but it is a shared space. And I'm just like inside of me, I'm like saying to myself, what exactly can I say right now that's not going to come across, in a way? And all I keep thinking is, you need to stop that. You need to stop that. Like I'm sitting there like this, and
And it's not working,
and it's
and
not
it's not
working.
working. I
I
can't
There's
feel
always
it.
something you can
I
say,
can't
no matter how you say it.
right,
When you can't pull yourself back in and
right. There
can
was
feel that
nothing
I'm not-
nice
no.
coming out of my
You can feel
mouth.
I'm
Yeah.
going down the ridges.
Right. I was like, I can feel, so here's
Oh,
my
that's so
growth
funny.
process. While that did irritate me, and I did tell my partner, I did not tell the people there, nor complain to my PT guy, but I did get to tell all of you.
So
I feel so good now.
oh my God.
Are we there?
Yeah.
We are there.
Oh,
my
you just made me
goodness.
laugh so hard. It's
One
so
more thing.
funny.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
oh my goodness.
Jeannie, I can so see like, it's fine. It's
No,
fine.
just like,
I really appreciate you didn't complain to the therapists and the PT people, because where I work, people won't tell the people that are, if somebody's making too much noise in the study room, instead of saying, I would really like a little bit more quiet, they'll come and tell us. So
Right.
we have to go tell them.
I
And then
know.
usually by the time we get there, they're not noisy anymore, so we can't verify that they're noisy or not.
Right.
So it's
Oh,
sometimes, and I say to myself, sometimes I just gotta take my own responsibility. If it's bothering me, then either I need to say something, or I need to leave, or I need to deal with it, and not put it on somebody else. I mean, if it was a dangerous situation, yes.
Yeah.
But not put it on
She
somebody
shook
else.
that
to deal with.
Starbucks one more time, it would have been.
I know, and sometimes you're more irritable than other times, right? There are some days a guy cuts you off in your car and you're like, yeah, go ahead, like, dude, you're obviously
You're obviously not ready to get to that
And then
red light.
sometimes I'm like, we're gonna go at it right here.
Traffic
So-
is a barometer for serenity.
There you go.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
I know. So some days your love stories, when we talk about the real love in
Yes.
January, you're gonna see some days your love stories are full.
Full
And
and
then nothing
overflowing.
bothers you. It's
Yeah.
like whatever. And then some days you are empty and every little irritant, everything, you're gonna you wanna go off. So that's up to us to maintain our love stories and to
Right.
know who we need to build that with, so that we are walking through life as love. You know,
I love
I
that.
think that's our big job. That's our
Wow.
that's your big job.
Woo, this is a
today.
great Sunday. So, let me just
They always
smack you.
are.
It was,
And
well,
she's smacking.
I'm just smacking. It's just a smack and tap. It was a left tap.
That's gonna be be a new thing. I can
Right?
just tell.
It's gonna be a different class. I'll do that
Oh,
in
my
June. The smack and tap.
You said it was the.
It's a
You did the opposite.
it's a rub and tap. Well, she would do that when I was mouthy.
She's like, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Calm down.
So now you know my secrets. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Are you ready?
I don't know. I'm giggly now. I'm all giggly.
Okay. Take a deep breath.
Okay, let's go ahead, ding the thing so we can. Oh gosh, let's all take some deep breaths because I'm really, you guys got me all going. Oh, we're just gonna release that and ground ourselves in that laughter, in the joy. You can feel the love in the room. Knowing that there is only one, there's only one spirit, only one presence, only one God. That God is love, is joy, is that laughter, that connection we feel. That is the only thing there is. And each of us are made of that. We are that incarnate. We are that. It's living through us, moving as us. We each are that love, that joy, that connection. And from that place of my truth, from that place of knowing who and whose I am, I speak my word for all of us, for everyone hearing my voice right now, hearing my voice later, that we are each that love. And as we come from that place of love, as we bring it forth, as we allow ourselves to be grounded in that truth, we see more love. We feel more love. We express more love. We create more love. And so the world, our environments, the people around us, they also feel that more love too. That is our challenge. That is our work every day. And I know that as we take up that challenge, we create a life we love. And so I am so grateful for that. I'm grateful for that truth. I'm grateful for the blessing of that knowledge. And so I let it go, knowing and trusting that it is already done in the eyes of God. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you. Oh, awesome.
You guys did great today.
Yeah, so
Sharon. I love the
appreciate-
sharing.
I so appreciate the sharing, and I do want to show appreciation for that because it's hard to be vulnerable and authentic and honest, and I'm so grateful for the space that we create here,
Yes.
that we do have that. So
Because it brings, like, we may know, like, from our point of view, but
Right.
not from your point of view. So as
right,
you all feel called to share, and you do, that creates an awareness for everybody else. Everybody else is, participating in that. And
Right.
it leads the conversation where I believe Spirit wants it to go. So we
Right.
just follow that
which
around. I love
was
it.
the goal of
Was
this.
the goal of Sofa Sundays
Yes,
anyway.
absolutely. So how can you support us? I'm glad you asked.
I was gonna ask you.
Oh, Anne wanted to know.
I know Ann wanted to know.
Lots of ways.
There's so many ways to support Begin Within Ministries Sofa Sundays. One, you can show up. We love that. We want you to be a part of. There's always something interesting to have, hold, see,
Yes, so
do.
much fun.
There's so much going on here. And we would like to invite you to some special things. So we have a Christmas Eve candlelight service coming up. That's actually going to be held on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, just to make
And
sure
just so
you know.
it's a Sunday. So do not show up here at 11:11 that Sunday. We will be sleeping in.
I'll be sleeping.
Yes.
Yes.
We will be having at 6 p.m. our service. Now,
Are you
There-
going to tell them the special treat?
I am. Because I want them to know.
Yes.
And we want you to know that there's an ice cream social happening after that. But not just any ice cream.
Not just any ice cream.
Not just any ice cream. Homemade ice cream by our Spiritual Church Club partner, Marilyn.
Yes.
She's making homemade ice cream here.
She's already been doing it. She's already
Yeah.
been testing and making.
Peppermint flavored ice
Yes.
cream.
Nice.
So I'm just
Yes.
going to tell you that if you miss this, that's on you.
Yeah.
I'm just,
We can't
that's
help you
more
then.
for me. Yeah.
It's more for you?
That's more for me.
I'm sorry. Hello.
I'm a growing girl.
Oh.
Anyway.
No, but we want you to join that with us. That's the
We
most
do.
beautiful service that we do is the one, the Christ consciousness, all about that, and it's the candle lighting one. Is the most beautiful service that we do all year. So,
Well, one of.
well,
Because
then,
our two favorite
Our two
services
favorite. the
are.
reason why we started last year in December because we wanted these two services.
We wanted these two services. And then the next one is, now don't show up at 11:11 because you will miss us. Because we'll be here at 5 a.m.
Well, I won't.
Oh, well,
I'll be in New York, but I will
Right.
be streaming in live.
So it's 5 a.m. on New Year's Eve day.
New Year's Eve day
So that's
Sunday.
December 31st.
is also that Sunday.
It's also a Sunday, 5 a.m. And then afterwards we go out to breakfast to the Five and Diner.
which I will not
Or-
do virtually.
Or wherever
I'll
we
be here
go.
virtually. Yes, yes.
So those are two services we'd like to have your support for and for you to come out.
Yes.
The other way you can support us is to share this content, tell your friends, make comments, let us know, send us an email.
I see all the comments. I
Yeah,
can't read them.
we
so
can't
I'm
read
like,
them
But thank
from
you
here.
for commenting. And I love knowing who's watching and where you're from and all that kind of stuff. So
And then monetarily, you can always support us by going to beginwithinministries.com and clicking on donate now. You can become a spiritual church club partner for $45 a month or for a couple or family for $75. So there you go.
and we want to thank our spiritual church club partners because without you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do here. We wouldn't be able to do what we do here. We wouldn't be able to provide you with our wonderful affirmation cards and our mugs and all that stuff. So our spiritual church club partners, you're near and dear to our hearts. Thank you so much for supporting us. Please share us and let other people know we exist
Yes.
so we can keep doing it.
And thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Oh, we'll have a special guest next week too.
Oh,
so
special
stay
guest.
tuned.
Bye.
Special guest